let's not get ahead of ourselves. I can already see the comments. Maybe you have heard of it. Anytime there's any type of Steam sale, Playism loves to shove this game down people's throats. SteamDB tells me that its lowest recorded price is 69 cents. And honestly, if you got it from other places like Humble, probably cheaper. Because of this cheap sale price, I wouldn't blame you if you saw it and assumed it was slop. I mean, if I saw this without any prior knowledge in the current Steam landscape, I probably would have been a bit more hesitant. Yet, I purchased this game back in 2015, where things weren't as bad. I say that and then I scroll 5 games down and I see I gifted someone Bad Rats. Who remembers Bad Rats? Like, seriously, I remember when it was a joke that you could gift someone a really shitty game on Steam. Can you imagine that nowadays? Okay, tangent aside, this game is not Bad Rats. Not even close. And despite it having a peak player count of 775, again, according to SteamDB, I want more people to know about this game. I want to tell you about one of my favorite games of all time, One Way Heroics. But first, let's back it up a little bit. I want to talk about why I even chose to make this video. See, my name's Seraph, and I'm an aspiring game developer. I've had an idea for a game I want to make for a while now, and I've started a bit on development. But I want to make sure before I really get into it, that it's something that is good. Something that people would actually enjoy. I've played so many games. It feels like there is a great idea on display, but yet terrible execution. Off the top of my head, I just immediately think of Peglin. So I was really afraid of being trapped in that kind of hole. As a result, I was trying to figure out what I most liked about games that I really enjoy. Game that immediately came to mind was One Way Heroics. So, One Way Heroics. It's a game that was released on Steam in February of 2014 by publisher Playism and developer SmokingWOLF. Playism might be a publisher you're already familiar with. They've published games such as Momodera or Nausea. Personally, I always think of them as the publishers of Alismere and Light. Forgive me for showing my age in those answers, as well as my 15-year-old self's obsession with RPG Maker games. SmokingWOLF, however, wouldn't blame you if that's a name you've never heard of. I'm gonna put a pin in talking about him, however, both because I'm sure you want to hear about the actual game, and also because I just have a bit I want to say about him toward the end of this video. The game is a side-scrolling tile-based RPG. It starts with you choosing a class as well as some perks, and then poof, you're off to save the world from the evil demon lord. But there's a twist. The entirety of the world is being consumed by an evil darkness as you attempt to fulfill the task, so you will always be moving right. Hence the game's namesake, One Way Heroics. That's not just a plot point either. Get stuck behind a wall or simply walk into the ever-encroaching darkness, and bam, game over. Beyond this mechanic is the crux that the game revolves around. Destructible environments, hunger management, as well as gear acquisition, and simply the act of being able to survive in a world that is seemingly approaching its destruction. These are all gameplay elements that play off the simple side-scrolling mechanic. And I don't know if you can tell by the way I'm describing it, but this game, it can be very punishing. Some might even call it the Dark Souls of side-scrolling RPGs. No. However, the game does have multiple forms of meta progression, such as unlocking new characters, being able to store powerful items in a vault, and unlocking new perks to add to your characters. In all of this, I wanted to answer a question. Why do I like this game so much? What makes it special to me compared to other games has made it a game that I always come back to, at least for a couple of runs every few months. In answering this, I feel like I would be remiss to not mention one of the aspects that has always stuck in my mind about this game. But before I do that, I'm gonna need to explain one more quick mechanic about the game. As you progress through the world, there are various procedurally generated lands that you go through that will also have unique structures in them, from monster strongholds to human villages. As you proceed, however, the game becomes more dangerous and the areas become more corrupted, which leads you to eventually find an area that, you might walk up to it and it looks like a normal human village, but you enter a building and it's actually a bunch of strong monsters. Not only that, due to other aspects of the game's lore, it's heavily implied that these villages actually are normal human villages where the inhabitants have become infected and have transformed into monsters. Gameplay-wise, this is a bait and switch. The whole idea is you walk in there thinking it's a safe place, And it's not. And not only is it not, everything is super strong and gonna kill you. However, for me, the reason why I always remember these areas is because they made me feel bad. Here, I'm gonna play the music that plays in this area. I need you to understand, beyond the music and just the sort of like sub-narrative in this that's not even explicitly said, it's always been stuck with me, which is especially interesting because this isn't even like a part of like the major narrative the game's trying to tell. And even more so, you don't play this game for the narrative. It's obvious most of the fun is meant to be derived from the mechanics in the moment-to-moment action in attempts to get a clear. Again, this game is pretty difficult. Yet, it's these story beats, if you'd even call them that have stuck around with me and made me realize something. You can have the most fun, optimized, mechanically awesome game imaginable, but games aren't just numbers. It's also the aesthetic that you want to give off, the world you want to immerse your players in, everything around those mechanics. It's multimedia. Even among the most popular mechanically intense roguelikes, I'm sure most people would agree, they like the aesthetics of the games as well. I think of games like Darkest Dungeon, Slay the Spire, The Binding of Isaac. These games are obviously tons of fun, but also a lot of the fun comes from being able to immerse yourself in the fiction of it. And in that respect, I love one-way heroics. I don't want to dig too deep into the details. I think you're better off just trying the game yourself. Again, they love to give this game away for cheap. But seriously, give it a try. Tell me what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think of one of my favorite games of all time. Alright, now let's get back to what I was talking about at the beginning. The discussion of the developer of the game, SmokingWOLF. This section's gonna be a little weird, because I actually learned a lot about him that I didn't know prior to pinning this video. Firstly, he is actually the main developer behind the game engine Wolf RPG. It is a freeware alternative to RPG Maker, which games like Misao and Mad Father were made in. I was already surprised to learn that. But then I learned that the original version of One Way Heroics was actually a freeware game released by SmokingWOLF, utilizing the Wolf RPG engine years prior to the February 2014 English Steam release. Information online about this developer in English is fairly sparse, which is very surprising to me considering in making this video, I learned that not only does he maintain an active development blog on his site silversecond.net, but he's actually developing a one-way heroics too? What? Like what? How did I not know this? That's crazy. I'm actually so excited now. Beyond discussion of one-way heroics, I wanted to call attention to the fact that I really wish there was more information available in English about this developer. He seems like a really cool guy, and especially I would love to see translations of those dev blogs. Obviously, I could use Google Translate, but I would love to just see them properly translated by a Japanese speaker, because I'd love to hear exactly what he was trying to say. It's so shocking to me that I have loved this game for so long, but yet I never knew there was a sequel in development, or that he had developed Wolf RPG. I'm sorry, that's just crazy to me. And now, to end the video. I know I didn't really discuss a lot of the mechanical depth of the game. Believe me, there's a lot I could say. But the mechanical depth of the game isn't what kept it stuck in the back of my mind. It was the willingness to take that one mechanic, the screen scrolling of death, and weaving fun game mechanics and story flavoring around it. It wasn't a specific aspect, it was how deeply complementary of one another each aspect was. So if I take any lesson away from this game, it's that if you have a good idea, don't let it go to waste. Fully embrace it. Make the game work around it. Push it to its very limit. And if you do that, well, you'll create a game that people love. It's how SmokingWOLF created a game that I love. I hope, based on this video, you'll give his game a try too. As a small note at the end of this video, I just want to say, tell me about your favorite games. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you want to see more out of a video game. The project I'm working on right now, I really want it to be successful, and I want it to be something that invokes in someone the feeling that I get from a game like One Way Heroics. Anyway, once again, this was Seraph. signing out.